I'm Sherry Kendall, and welcome to Hometown Salutes. Today, I have a very special veteran, Fayette County veteran Bill Malone. Welcome, Bill, to the show.
Thank you, Sherry, and thank you, John, for having me.
So let's get started. Why don't you tell us what branch of service were you in, and did you enlist or were you drafted?
No, I enlisted in the Marine Corps when I was a senior in high school. At that point in time, there was a 180-day delayed program, which I graduated midterm, and that allowed me to leave early for my basic training and stuff and my advanced training and on the reconnaissance school. That's why, I ended up in Vietnam at the end of '68, because normally I probably wouldn't have got in there till '69 because I had that time frame then there to go through my training and stuff.
Okay. So how many years did you serve in the service?
I served 2 years.
2 years.
On a 3-year enlistment, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you come from a military family?
Well, my dad was in Korea, and he was in the Navy. And my uncle was in the 101st Airborne in the Army. Any farther back in that, I don't know.
Okay. Were your parents supportive that you enlisted?
Yeah, as much as any parent would be at that point in time. Back then, it wasn't a popular war. It wasn't something that everybody talked about. If they talked about it, they talked about it in not a good way, it seemed like.
Right.
I guess when we were over there, all this protesting and stuff was going on, but we never really heard a lot about that. Maybe some of the people back in the cities in Saigon, places like that, heard about it, but as far as us being in the know about it, we didn't really know.
Right. So you signed up and then you did basic training. Where did you do that at?
I went basic training in San Diego and Pendleton. Then I went up to MCRD is when I went to basic. Then I went to ATI in Camp Pendleton up there, and then I went into reconnaissance school, which they still have the reconnaissance school there at Pendleton.
So that was your specialized training?
Yes.
So during basic training, did you think it was hard? I mean, you're a 17-year-old kid at that time, correct?
Well, yeah, I think it was somewhat hard, because I remember telling the drill instructor, we was out by the airport. Some of the training area was by the airport there in San Diego, and we was training in sand and stuff. And I told him there was a jet taking off, and I made a comment to the guy next to me. I said, if I could get a hold of one of them wheels or something, I'd get on that plane, get out here. He said, you don't care where it's going. I said, I don't care where it's going. I want
Get me out of here. Yeah, I don't blame you. So.
Yeah.
So what exactly did your job entail? What were you trained for?
The reconnaissance, of course, every Marine goes through their basic training and stuff, and then they get divided out to where they're in their ATI, and then they get split out to whatever their specialties are going to be, whether it's aircraft or tanks or artillery or reconnaissance or whatever. There's a lot of fields out there to get in. But actually, there was several of us talking there on a completion of our ATI at Pendleton, what we wanted to do, because we knew pretty much we was going to go to Vietnam, what would be the best way to come back, standing up. So we decided, if you go in the infantry, you're going to be out there in the mud, in rainforest jungles, whatever, all the time, and that's not a good thing. So we can go into reconnaissance. We only work with 6 men or 7 men, and we can sneak around out there for about 7 days and come back and the pressure's off. Well, sometimes you got to be careful what you ask for, because once again, I don't think any of us made a good decision while I was in Marine Corps.
Right.
Yeah, because it seemed like everything we decided that we wanted to do, it wasn't good.
Yeah. So when did you get shipped overseas?
I got shipped it was October of '68. October of '68.
So you left the United States, which you were where? In San Francisco then?
Yeah, I was out in San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you left San Francisco by plane?
By plane. we flew into Okinawa, and we stayed there for several days, and from Okinawa on into Vietnam. And then when we got there at the airport, it's like I said, they had taken incoming at that time. They got us to our respective outfits, and we had to go through an indoctrination program and to get us settled in. But we never did get to our units for a day or two before we could actually get settled into the actual outfit that you're going to be assigned to. And then once we got there, the reconnaissance, I was in the 1st Marine Division. Delta Company was the company I was with, and they had about a week indoctrination program to where they wouldn't allow new guys go out on actual patrols. They put them out in mock patrols, or they'd send them out somewhere where they pretty well knew that it was not a hot area. So you could get the grasp of things, so you'd be mentored by the guys that's been there for a while, and they could help you help to move yourself along and what you should be aware of, what you should watch for, and how you should pack your gear when you go out. You know, what to take, what not to take, what to be careful of. There's multitudes of things, and it's a continuous learning experience when you do that.
Wow. So how long did you'd go out for how long? Like when you went to work for that day?
Well, we didn't go work for that. Okay, no.
Probably never stopped.
We worked in 7-man teams. We was actually, it's like I told you before, we worked in a lot in logistics, information gathering. We watched for troop movement, how they was armed, whether it was tanks, whether it's rockets, small arms and stuff. We had shackle sheets that we drew before we left the area to send back whatever information we got. We'd send it back in code because they was constantly monitoring our frequency. We knew that. So that's what we had to do. We would go out 7-8 days, anywhere from 60 to 80 miles out in the middle of them, and we just kind of sat back in, and we would just kind of sit and watch and listen. We moved a little bit, but as far as getting up and really moving large, in large distance and stuff, we couldn't afford that, because you're 7 men, you're a 7-man team. Everybody's got to rely on one on the other, and when you get out there, you can't take the chance of being detected or found out that you're there. When they actually insert you, whether it's by helicopter, by a rubber raft, whether it's a water insertion, or if you walk in sometimes, you run that risk of the NVA hearing the helicopters. And when they hear those helicopters and they're hovering over there out there in the jungle somewhere, they know what's going on. They're inserting special forces teams. So they start looking for you. Jeez. You know, and for 7 days, it's like you're the hunted. You know, and you try to just stay as quiet as you can, move as little as you can. You had designated spots that you wanted to cover and to see the type of NVA movement, if there was any. Now, sometimes there wasn't. And sometimes you would get so close to them that you would think they could hear your heartbeat, and it would scare you. I mean, but that was not a norm, but it did happen. Yeah. And sometimes you just have to stand up and fight, and that's not good either. So there you are, stuck 80 miles out. You're in contact with the NVA, Viet Cong, whatever. You've got to get the quickest and fastest way out there if they can get you out. They may not be able to get you out, so they tell you to pretty much defend yourself and go hide somewhere. God. And sometimes that's a real obstacle to do, real obstacle.
Wow. So this actually is you when you were 17 years old, and
yeah.
You were getting ready to go
to leave for Vietnam, yeah.
To Vietnam.
Yeah.
So you were here in the States, getting ready to leave.
Getting ready to go.
Wow, I can't imagine what your mom thought. So you're in actual Vietnam here?
No, that's out there, California.
Oh, this is during training?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just standing there.
Where are you at? Are you in?
I'm standing in the barracks.
In a barracks?
Yeah, I'm just standing in the barracks here.
Okay. And these are the weapons that you use?
No, those are the weapons that was captured, that we captured over there. There would be times that we would capture large amounts of weapons and mortars and stuff like this. And if that was the case, we would call in the engineers and they would come in and they would blow the ordnance up, or they would take it back to wherever they took it. If we run into a bunker complex, which a lot of times we did run into those, we didn't challenge them. We backed off of them, and we would once again call in airstrikes and artillery fire to try to alleviate as much of it as we could. But in the last, we'd call engineers in, and they would go in and blow the tunnels and stuff. So, sometimes it got really lazy, like splitting hairs out there.
Wow. So is this...
That right there is a CH-46. He was out of Marble Mountain, which Paul and I was talking about a while ago. That was our insertion aircraft. That's what they dropped us in.
That's what they dropped you in?
Yeah. Yeah, they would take us out. There would be two of them. Yeah. And the second one was just in case you got shot down, or the insertion bird had mechanical problems. They had another aircraft right there that they could switch you off to and get you out of there.
Okay.
And sometimes they were there to get you out of if you get shot down. Now, along with that, we have, I think the next picture you're coming up with, those were the Cobra gunchips. We had two of those that would fly cover for us when we was going out on a patrol on insertion. They would prep the LZ. They would come in there with rockets and machine gun fire and so on and so forth to prep the LZ to make sure it was okay for us to go in. Sometimes they were in the tunnels and then they would come back out. So you didn't know. You pretty much assured that it was a quiet LZ or a calm LZ, but you never knew. Yeah. Those little guys, they were smart. They were smart, and they were good.
So you've engaged with the enemy, right?
Oh yeah.
So you want to tell us about a close encounter, maybe? I mean, is that something you want to talk about?
No, that's fine. I was telling you about the NVA helmet and stuff, and John a while ago, and I was telling you about it, that I've got a collection of stuff that I brought back, which is all licensed by the federal government and allowed me to bring them back.
Wow.
We had made contact, and I think we was up on Charlie Ridge, in the Charlie Ridge area, which is an area that we had a lot of movement in. Not quite as much as the Ashaw Valley, but a lot of movement. And we had made contact earlier that morning, and we thought we had broken contact. Actually, there was some firefights going on. And when we broke contact, we tried to move to a position to where we could have observation of the area that was down below us where we had made the contact. But obviously, unbeknownst to us, there was a tunnel complex there. And I was standing, we was actually pulled back and trying to decide how we were going to set up to defend our position. And I caught something out of the corner of my eye coming up. And when I looked around, it was an NVA soldier. I don't think he was even aware I was standing there. But I saw him, and I turned around, and as soon as I turned, he obviously saw me, and that we had to eliminate him. And that's where that helmet come from. And I have that helmet hanging on my wall. And I've talked to psychologists and stuff up there at the VA, and they said, "Why do you hang that there?" I said, "I want that to be a remembrance to me every day. I never want to have to do something like that again to another human being." Because to carry that, and what I'm talking about is not near what some of these infantry guys carry every day of their life after the fact. It's the eye contact. Don't make eye contact. I think that little guy was about 15 years old. Or he's probably about the same age I was.
You were young.
Yeah. So. Why did, and I've asked myself many times, why did that have to happen? If I didn't know him, me and him probably drink coffee together. I had nothing against him.
Right.
Other than...
You were there. You were placed to do a job.
Exactly.
But thank goodness you
yeah,
saw that out of
yeah,
the corner of your
yeah,
eye.
I had about my back turned. He shot me. I mean, that'd been it. So we'd been into it again.
So it was a spider tunnel? They just...
Yeah, it was just a trap door that they come up out of. They have actual underground over there. They had hospitals underground.
Really?
Oh yes, they had hospitals. They had cafeterias. It was just like
A city underground.
City underground. It had been years in the makings because I believe before we was there, I think the French was there. So this had been going on for a long time. They didn't just start digging those tunnels when we got there.
Right.
I think we was there in '56.
Right. So.
Somewhere back in there. So I think those complexes have been dug out for years and years and years because of the fighting. They've always been fighting over there. And to what was available to them under there. I mean, they had ammunition storages. They had about everything we have up on top.
They had below.
But they had below.
It snuck right up.
There was times. Now I'm going to tell this story, and it could be a tale, but I don't believe it is because the amount of tunnels and complexes we run into, I believe every bit of it. But they said there had been USO shows, which I never saw one, and a lot of guys never saw them. I never got back in the city to see those things. We was out there with the rice paddies and the leeches and the mosquitoes and snakes and.
Yeah, people can't even.
No.
I mean, people have no clue or can even realize.
That jungle is a beast. It's a live, breathing beast. And I don't care who it is, me, you, John, anybody that's in there doing that thing it just takes a toll on you. The mosquitoes, the bugs, the ants, the snakes, the venomous snakes, the rice paddies, the swamps you have to wade through and sometimes just set in for a while. It's just, it's something. I watch Naked and Afraid.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Naked and Afraid. And I think it's because that the jungle that those people get into and stuff. And I tell Becky, I said, those jungles right there will do things to you you'd never imagine. It doesn't matter if you got clothes on. It's going to do it.
Yeah.
Because, it's just, there's something. I've never seen anything like it.
Oh, I can't imagine. So, I mean, this was close enough to you that you got a picture, right?
It was. Yeah, he was close.
I'm glad you took him out and it wasn't the other way around.
Well, that was back in the area, and they had what they called zappers over there, and they would hit you at night. They'd get all smoked up on opium, and they'd run in through that concertina wire, and you couldn't, you shoot the legs off of them, and they'd still be trying to get through. I mean, they'd be so whacked out. And if they get inside, that's what happens. Then you go get a little bit closer with your contact, and so on and so forth. That's what I was telling John a while ago. A lot of guys think, well, I sat behind a desk, I didn't get to do anything. No, you did something. Because any given time in any place like that, it's fixing to come down on you. You don't know.
Yep.
You don't know.
And nothing was safe.
There's no safe areas.
I don't even know how you slept. Did you ever sleep?
Yeah, you sleep, but you sleep with a weapon. You don't ever sleep, hardly. I mean, you do, but as what you're talking about, no.
Right.
No, there's no pulling up the covers and fluffing the pillow up and stuff.
Yeah. So is this the same?
Yeah, that's a scout dog we had. Now we would take out your German shepherds like that. They were trained to sniff out the Viet Cong and NVA. They had their scents and stuff, and they were pretty good. They did a good job for us. If they started to alert and their handler and stuff would let us know that we need to just kind of maybe hunker down and start looking around a little bit because something's not right. And those dogs would alert to that. And I thought they was really, really well received.
Right.
Yeah.
So they were muzzled?
Well, they had to be back in the area because there was actually Vietnamese people coming in and doing laundry and this, that, and the other, and one of them dogs would eat them up.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't like,
So this is right close to you as well.
Well, that was close. That was a friend of mine did that, and what you see there holding him to the ground is a K-bar knife. That guy rode him down, and that's where he left him. That's
Wow. So are you in this picture? Are these your friends, your buddies?
yeah. That's me, Ronnie Russell, and Jimmy Jinks. Jimmy Jinks just recently passed this last summer.
So these guys are from here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually run across each other over there. Now, how many times?
Over in Vietnam, did you know they were in?
Well, yeah, we all graduated and went to school together, but we didn't know where anybody was at.
Oh,
They could have been
wow,
in Germany or someplace. And all of a sudden, here come these clowns. I'm thinking, how can you go halfway around the world and look up, and there's three of your drinking buddies, or two of your drinking buddies.
That is unreal.
Dave Joy was over there with us.
From here?
From here. That's passed away. Mike Silky was over there with us. He come up from Latrang. I looked up, and here he comes walking down our rear area. I'm thinking, what's Silky doing here?
Wow.
It's just old home week.
Gosh, that's crazy. Is this you?
Yes,
And
that was me. Yeah, we was out on a patrol, and actually we had made contact that day, and I was hot. It was so hot. It was triple digits, and it was just scorching hot, and we were just wore out. So
How long were you in Vietnam? The whole
Yeah, 13 months.
13 months? So do they have seasons in Vietnam? Or is it mostly?
I'm gonna say rain and dry. That's the only thing I ever seen. I mean, when it's dry, it's so hot, and when it's raining, I'm telling you, that's why they got a reason why they call that a monsoon, but nothing over there. The Vietnamese people don't stop their regular activities. But I mean, they go on doing what they do. It's just normal.
Right.
But to go out there and be rained on for 8, 9, 10 days out there in the mud and the leeches and the snakes, and you got enough to worry about, and you got to worry about this silly stuff.
Right, besides worrying about what you need to worry about, you have all the jungle.
That picture right there.
Is this you?
Yeah, we was out on a patrol. But going back to that movie, that sitcom that I watched, that Naked and Afraid.
Yeah.
I don't remember them ever actually training us and telling us. They told us about the two-step viper, which was a viper, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Lived mostly in the bamboo groves.
Yeah.
And we had to make sure you watch over your head and stuff, because I guess that's where they was at. But I don't remember ever being afraid of worrying about what's that snake called right there? What's he called? Cobra. Well, if sitting there, if I had a cobra crawl across my boots, they'd have had to medevac me.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I'm sure there was guys bitten by them over there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm sure there is.
So let's talk about, this is something that really happened that's pretty close to your heart here.
It did.
Do you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, that's one of our recon teams, and there's several reasons why it's so close to me. Is that team right there? Most of those guys I went through training with, and I had come in probably 2 or 3 days prior to them getting ready to go out. Well, they had a guy that come down with malaria, and Rick and those guys there, kept asking him. They said, well, why don't you go ask the first sergeant if you could go with us, which is something they never let you do anyway, because we've never been out on patrol together. Well, yeah. So I went ahead and talked to Top about it, and Top asked me, he said, can you get your web gear and stuff together and get everything? I said, yeah. He said, well, go ahead, and we'll mark you down as on a roster. And I was going to take, I was a big primary radio man. So we got up the morning, the day we was going to be set in, and we went to the mess hall and got something to eat. Went down to the LZ and drawed all of our hand grenades, claymores, machine gun belts, everything we needed, shackle sheets. And we were standing there waiting for the the insertion birds to come in. The Cobras, the gunships were already sitting down there, and we was waiting on the insertion birds to come over from Marble Mountain. And the first sergeant come walking down the steps, and he told me, he said, Bill, he said, you stand down. He said, we got a first lieutenant that has just arrived in country, and we don't think that's a hot zone you're going to, and we want him to get him some bush time, and he wants to go, so we're going to let him take care of take your place. And I said, well, okay, and it wasn't an hour at the most. The insertion birds got there, and the guys took off, and upon insertion, they got shot down and killed all of them. I was that close. Now, we talked about something about an intervention on Facebook this week, and people were talking about it. And I put on there, I said, folks, I had an intervention. And I know what that intervention was, because there's only one reason why I got taken off that patrol roster that morning. Mm-hmm. Or I'd have been laying right out there with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after I got home, I got to thinking, I love them guys. I hear their voices even to the day. Every day I hear them talking. I mean, it never goes away. It never gets away from you. But I hear them, So I went over in Oxford, and I had a tattoo artist. I had all their names tattooed on my back. I figured that's the only way I can stay close to them. Now, one of these days we're going to be a lot closer, but right now that's as close as I can get to them. And I love them guys as much as I love life myself. But to lose all of them, and just in one day, the whole team was wiped out. It was devastating. It was devastating.
Wow. I see you received a promotion.
Mm-hmm. We had made contact. I think that may have been in the Ashaw Valley, which was a highly motivated place out there. A lot of activity. We had made contact. I was the assistant team leader there, and we'd made contact. And when we made contact, I got the team backed out of it. We got in a defensive position and stuff. I got on radio and called in some artillery strikes on the withdrawal route from for the NVA where they had left from, and we collected quite a bit of ammunition and guns or weapons, whatever you want to call it, ordnances and stuff. And I got a meritorious combat promotion with the Vietnamese Cross.
Wow.
Yeah.
So after the service, when you got out, you came back to Fayette County to Connorsville, and
mm-hmm.
then what did you do?
Well, I worked at Ford, and I couldn't work inside. I was like a cat on a hot tail roof. I couldn't stay inside. So, and my dad, he spent 42 years up there, and I was there probably a year and a half, 2 years, and I went out at lunchtime one day, and I got to thinking. I went back in and got my tools and stuff and left. Quit. Well, I got home, and my dad wasn't a happy camper. I mean, I said, listen, Dad, this was good to our families. I can't do it. I can't work inside like this. I got him calmed down and everything. So I went to blower company. Now, why I thought it was going to be any different, I don't know, but I worked on the small erection floor over there. And the same thing, 2 or 3 years, I just left. I couldn't. And finally, Bob Fitzgerald gave me an opportunity to work on the unit, him and Nolan Silky. I always wanted to work with them guys. I liked it. I liked the way they looked, and I think the way they dressed was because a lot about the Marine Corps and stuff. Yep. I just liked everything about it. And I spent 35 years there, retired from. Good career.
Wow.
Good career.
That is awesome.
Good career.
Well, gosh, Bill, I just don't even know what to say. I want to thank you for your service and your sacrifice.
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome.
I appreciate you coming on the show and telling us about your experience. And I just can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you, Sherry, and I appreciate it. I'm glad I can come back and tell the people about it. It was an experience, and everybody should know about it. The kids ought to know about it, and the people should know about it.
Right, I agree.
It's time to start talking.
Well, be sure to tune in next month for another edition of Hometown Salutes.